Trick number 1. Be first or be last. A golden rule used successfully by Hollywood filmmakers. We remember best what we see at the beginning and at the end. So if the beginning of the movie was exciting and the ending was unexpected and interesting, we will like the movie even if the middle was not so interesting. The same thing happens when dealing with people. For example, if you are to be interviewed for a new job, try to arrange it so that on the day of the interview, you are one of the first candidates or, conversely, one of the last. This way, the potential employer will remember you better. It is the same in the process of conversation. If you initially made a positive impression and at the end, for example, told a funny joke or something very interesting, the interlocutor will have a positive impression of the meeting with you, even if in the middle of the conversation something went wrong. Write in the comments your favorite movie. I'm sure whatever movie you name, you'll 100% be left loving the ending. Number 2. Mirror image. How the person you're talking to will surely like you, even if it is a person you barely know. Try to repeat his or her behavior. During communication, try to make similar gestures, facial expressions, or speak at the same rate of speech. New York University conducted a large study on this chameleon effect. According to its results, it was found that people subconsciously tend to show sympathy for the interlocutor who uses similar behavior. That is, we like people who resemble ourselves in some way. You can use this skill when you have an important meeting or you want to get the approval of your interlocutor on some issue. Number 3. If you want to win over a stranger in just a few seconds, then use a simple life hack. Try looking at the color of your conversation partner's eyes. This is a great trick for those who have trouble making eye contact. It will only take you 5 seconds to determine the color of their eyes. This is enough to elicit sympathy. Longer eye contact, on the contrary, can lead to tension. A person who stares point blank into your eyes for a long time is more likely to cause dislike and fear. Number 4. Fight or run. Despite centuries of evolution, our brains still have the mechanisms that primitive humans had. When encountering danger, a human being has 2 options: fight or run. Thousands of years ago, this situation occurred when encountering a dangerous beast. Today, the same emotions are felt by a suspect under interrogation or by teenagers who are persistently questioned by their parents. In both cases, the heart begins to beat more frequently. Adrenaline in the blood rises sharply. Hands and feet become energetic, but the person cannot escape from the interrogation, so he unconsciously tries to release this energy. Before telling an untruth, the person may squirm, rub his hands, touch his hair, or make strange, unnatural gestures. Also, in the moments when a person lies, the body temperature rises. So many people, especially men, tend to touch the collar of a sweatshirt or t-shirt, like pulling it off to let air under the garment and cool it down a bit. Keep this in mind to figure out a liar when talking. Number 5. Use silence. When you're in the same small space with someone, silence tends to make you feel extremely uncomfortable. You can use this to your advantage to get the person to tell you the truth. When you've asked a question and you want an honest answer, just remain silent after the person has answered. This will create tension with the person you are talking to if he has lied. He will think that you actually know the truth and expect him to give you an honest answer. This way, you can make sure you hear an honest answer to your question. In addition to this, you can look the person not in the eyes, but on the forehead. Most interlocutors at this point will feel uncomfortable and will want to end the conversation faster, and for this, they will tell the truth right away. Number 6. Compliments. Everyone likes to hear compliments about themselves, both women and men. Most Americans start a conversation by complimenting the person they are talking to. They may mention your shirt, the print on your shirt, your cool glasses, your hair, anything. This kind of conversation starter is the norm in the United States. And even though people get used to hearing such compliments over time, it still puts them in a positive frame of mind. Try starting a conversation with someone you don't know well with a small compliment of some detail in their appearance. Therefore, the interlocutor begins to immediately feel sympathy for you. Of course, it is not necessary to think that he will be crazy about you, but the mood of the interlocutor will definitely be better. And if you want to like a person, then a compliment can also be useful, but it should be more subtle. People are organized in such a way that they like to receive rewards. The best reward for a person is recognition of their work. If you know that the person you are talking to has worked hard on something, you can acknowledge that in your compliment. For example, if you have information that a woman or man has spent a lot of time and effort to lose weight, be sure to mention how great shape they are in. They will love you almost immediately. You can also mention professional accomplishments or personal achievements. These are all very nice to hear. Number 7. Technique, please tell me. How to quickly establish contact with a stranger and make him sympathetic. You need to let him help you. Most people experience more positive emotions when they have helped someone else than when they have been helped. For example, you're on your first day at a new job and you want to connect with one of your co-workers. Just ask him or her to give you a hint, something minor, like where the nearest coffee shop is to the office, or something like that. It doesn't cost anything for the person you're talking to, and they'll have a good feeling that they've been helpful, and you'll be able to connect with them much more quickly. Number 8. The 5-second rule. According to psychologists, when contacting a stranger, it takes us only 5 seconds to realize whether we like him or not. So, if you want to get respect and sympathy from a stranger, you should think about it in advance. The two main things that the interlocutor will pay attention to during the first contact with you are appearance and posture. Speaking of appearance, we first of all mean clothes. The principle of dressing like everyone else. Wrong, as you cease to stand out in any way against the background of others, thereby causing sympathy and interest in relation to you in the first seconds will be quite difficult. But this does not mean that the clothes should be very expensive and flashy. The main thing is that it should suit you, and the brand and price tag do not play an important role. Posture also says a lot about you. When we slouch, clench, hide our hands, we subconsciously want to show as little of our body as possible. To our interlocutor, such a posture says only one thing: the person in front of him is insecure. To earn respect in the first seconds of the meeting in this way is simply impossible. Therefore, remember your posture. Do not try to hide your hands in your pockets, and do not look away. Of course, how your meeting will go, how and what you will talk about is also important, but the first impression can set the tone for the rest of the conversation and ultimately lead to your success or failure. Number 9. The baiting effect. This trick is often used by sellers of various products, so you can adopt it to avoid getting caught and spending extra. Let's say you have a product that you want to sell as much as possible in your store. Let's say it's a camera model that costs $500. To make as many visitors as possible buy it, put a $200 camera and a $1,000 camera next to each other. The vast majority of visitors will choose the one in the middle between the three options. This is called the trade-off effect. We subconsciously try to cut out the most extreme options and choose something in the middle. This effect is used by a huge number of companies and coffee sellers and car salesmen. Number 10. If the person you are talking to strokes his or her chin while talking to you, you can be sure that he or she is not listening to you. We make such hand gestures when we think hard about something and notice a lot of things going on around us. So if you notice that a person does this, stop and do not tell anything important. The person does not hear you anyway. In a similar way, you can also interpret the pose of a person leaning back on the back of a chair. His body language makes it clear that he is tired, he is bored. In short, at such times it is better to take a break. Number 11. If you have a problem remembering names, it can cause a lot of inconvenience, especially in business. People don't really like to be interrogated about what their name is, but what can you do to get better at remembering names? There's a simple but effective life hack. If a person introduces themselves in a conversation, use their name several times when chatting. Just start a question or sentence with the name of the person you are talking to, so you will almost certainly remember the person's name and avoid unpleasant situations when you meet them. Number 12. Common themes. We tend to feel sympathy for people with whom we have something in common. So if you find out in the course of a conversation that your conversation partner likes the same food as you, prefers similar movies, or has the same hobby, be sure to take advantage of it. Tell a story from your experience related to this common theme. For example, during the course of a conversation, your conversation partner, Slip, remarked that he likes superhero movies. You too are crazy about Iron Man and company. Be sure to share your impressions of the latest superhero movie or series. Ask your companion questions about it. By finding a common theme, you will become emotionally much closer. Number 13. Ask for more. This trick is used extensively by salespeople. They give you a higher price, and the moment you are ready to walk away from the deal, they lower the price. In fact, in most cases, this discounted price was their goal, and the amount higher they called only to make it psychologically easier for you to agree to a cheaper offer. The same technique you can effectively use in your everyday life. For example, you want to borrow money from a friend. You need $500. First, ask to lend you $1,000. When you hear a refusal, then ask to borrow at least $500. This way, your chances of getting $500 will be much higher than if you had asked for that amount right away. Or another example. You want to get fish, but you know in advance that your parents or husband or wife will be against the idea. Start by asking for a cat or dog. When you hear a refusal, then ask for fish. In this case, your opponent will probably agree. First, because fish look harmless against a dog, and second, your opponent will have a sense of guilt for denying your first request. Number 14. Favor up front. If you want to get some favor from another person, the best way is to get them to owe you a favor. To put it simply, first, you absolutely voluntarily help the person you need in some way. Then, when he or she thanks you, never say, "You're welcome" or "No problem." Instead, say, "You're welcome." Friends always do that. Now, subconsciously, the person will feel obligated to help you when you reach out to them. Number 15. Keep an eye on the color of your clothes. Color is an incredibly powerful tool that subconsciously affects every person. That's why it's worth keeping a close eye on what color clothes you wear in any given situation. If you want to get a job in a serious company, you should avoid very bright colors, such as orange or lettuce. This will scare off a potential employer. It is also worth remembering about shoes. It is clear that it should be clean and neat. But in addition to this, the presence of a heel plays an important role, both for men and women. In addition to making you look taller, a heel gives you more authority. People tend to consider people wearing heeled shoes as more professional and experienced. Number 16. To start small. This trick is useful both when interacting with other people and when doing something alone. If you know you have a big important thing to do, chances are your brain is resisting it as hard as it can and you can't get started. Then it's helpful to start small, such as telling yourself, "I'm only going to do this for 20 minutes. There's a good chance that after 20 minutes, once you've immersed yourself in the work, you'll continue what you've started. You can also divide one big thing into several small parts and do a little bit each day. The same technique can be used on other people. Suppose you are a manager and you have several people under your command. You can simply instruct them to do this or that task, but there is a high probability that the productivity of the employees will be small. It is better to divide one big task into several parts and tell the employees, "Let's start with this one." This way, it will be much easier for the employees to get started, and they will get through the final assigned task faster. Number 17. Don't get personal. It sounds like Captain Obvious advice, but in fact, many people neglect it. Imagine a situation you are discussing an idea among friends. It could be a meeting at work or a gathering of friends. At some point, you get into an argument with one of your interlocutors. The arguments run out and you get personal. For example, you say that the person has less experience than you, or they always have bad ideas, or that you know the topic better. At this point, you think it's a great argument and you've lambasted the person you're talking to. But in reality, it is you who is starting to be perceived negatively by everyone around you. Your mistake was that you started criticizing the person instead of criticizing their idea. Getting personal always puts the accuser in a weak position. Always criticize the specific suggestion of the person you are talking to, and next step, offer your solution. This way, you will look confident and command respect from others. Number 18. Start the conversation with a joke. Humor is a great tool to start a conversation, especially if you don't know the person very well. We all know that awkward feeling at the beginning of a conversation when you both don't know what to say. A simple joke at that moment will make your conversation partner treat you with more sympathy. It is clear that mastering the art of humor is not easy. Some have this skill is better developed, and some have it worse. But that doesn't mean you have to make up jokes. Just take them from famous comedians and use them at the beginning of the conversation. Everyone loves people with a sense of humor. It's a fact. However, you should not forget to periodically update your arsenal of jokes, otherwise you will become the same person who tells the same joke several times. And in this case, you will not achieve a sense of sympathy, but rather the opposite. Number 19. Use food to improve relationships. For centuries, eating has brought people together. It is extremely rare for serious quarrels and relationship clarifications to take place during meals. If you know you are going to have to tell an unpleasant truth to your co-worker or significant other, do it during a meal. When people eat, they are too busy with this process to fully react to the information. Therefore, they will take unpleasant news much more calmly than if they were fully focused on the conversation. Reinforcing this trick can be the choice of location. If you go to a luteous place, the presence of other people will be an additional deterrent to the release of negative emotions. Besides, we all tend to be nervous when we are hungry, so giving your interlocutor something to eat before you give him unpleasant news is a good idea. That way, his attitude will be more relaxed. Number 20. Confuse to convince. It's a well-known fact. To persuade your opponent, you need to leave him as little opportunity as possible to think about what you are saying. So, for example, you can try to speak quickly or confuse your opponent. Suppose you need to sell a stranger something for $50. When you voice the price, then say 5,000 cents. At first, the person will be confused in trying to count 5,000 cents in dollars, and thus will continue to communicate with you. And then the price of $50 against the background of 5,000 will seem to him quite insignificant, and he will be more likely to buy your goods. Number 21. Want to put your life in order? Start by cleaning your room. It sounds like one of those useless quotes from the internet, but it's a whole scientific theory that works. There is a scientific phenomenon called the broken windows theory. It came about back in the 80s in New York City. Then sociologists noticed that the rampant crime in the city is primarily caused by petty offenses. The more broken windows, pickpocketing, and other petty hooliganism, the more serious crimes were committed. When the authorities of New York City began to fight minor offenses, the overall crime situation in the city began to improve. This theory can be applied to personal life as well. If you do not follow the order in one room, then soon problems in different areas of your life will also begin to accumulate. So if you want to start changing your life tomorrow, just do some cleaning. Number 22. If you are feeling nervous and can't calm down, eat. This is a simple but effective way to come to your senses. When a person chews, the brain gets distracted. This is why you should not try to digest important information while eating. It is difficult for the brain to do both at the same time. So it's better to relax while eating. Number 23. Make sure you phrase your request correctly. Let's say you need to ask your friend to help you move things. I'm sure most of you would ask, "Can you help me move my stuff on Saturday?" This kind of wording greatly reduces the chances of you getting your way. Starting with the phrase, "Could you," you are not initially formulating a specific request, but asking an abstract question. Therefore, it is much easier to get rejected. Instead, Ask specifically, "Can you please help me move my stuff on Saturday?" Making the request in this way dramatically increases your chances of getting a yes. But at the very least, the person will definitely not make up false excuses and will refuse only if he really will be very busy. Do not forget to put a like if you were interested in this video. Also, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell to always be aware of new videos, and of course, leave your comments under this video.